Music is widely considered to be a universally understood language. People around the world can connect with others, even if they do not speak their language, through music. Music conveys emotions and feelings similar to how language does, but ideas that are used in music around the world are present around the world. A musician can listen to another musician from a different culture and understand what emotion they are trying to convey. These emotions can become muddled depending on how different the cultures are, such as Western music when compared to Chinese music, traditional Chinese music, of course. And sometimes the meaning of this music gets lost when it is brought to America. When African American music was brought to America, it was brought by the slaves. They played their traditional music as a way to connect with their culture that they were torn away from. Blacks have used their cultural music or ethnic music, to identify with other blacks. But white people have, in the past, tried to take this identity away from them. Artists such as Benny Goodman, Elvis Presley, and Eminem have all taken away the black identity that they have associated with themselves in music. Benny Goodman, the first example of this, was an immigrant that moved to the slums, and he was the seventh son in a family of 9. His parents paid for clarinet lessons to make sure that he stayed out of trouble. And then, by the age of 16, he was performing in Chicago's top jazz band. Soon after, he was the band leader. Jazz was traditionally played by blacks, and much of the music that Benny Goodman played was composed by black artists. And he also played in a band that was mainly comprised of black artists. But at the same time, he was a white person playing black music. He performed at Carnegie Hall and made the monumental decision to put solely his face on the cover of the record. This upset many members of the black community because it looked to paint jazz with a white face in front of it. This album sold extremely well when compared to other jazz albums that were like it, that were created by black artists. The next artist to culturally appropriate from the blacks is Elvis Presley. Elvis Presley grew up in a small town in a very, very poor area and was surrounded by solely black people. He grew up listening to their music, their rhythm and blues music, which was called ethnic music at the time. And he drew much of his inspiration for his music from their music. Once Elvis moved away from this area, he still associated himself with black people. And many of his early songs were actually covers. The song Tutti Frutti was originally created by Little Richard. And Elvis created a cover of this song, which sounds extremely similar. as you can hear, Elvis obviously covered this song, but he never gave any credit to Little Richard. Another song that Elvis covered was Hound Dog, which was created by Big Mama Thornton. When Elvis covered this song, he changed the tempo and changed the overall feeling of the song to better show his ideas and make it fit into the genre of rock and roll. The next artist that covered a black song was Eminem. Eminem grew up very similar to Elvis Presley in a very, very poor neighborhood. Eminem found his identity by listening to rap music that was created by blacks in the area. While listening to this music, Eminem, otherwise known as Marshall Mathers, developed a skill at rapping. In his early days, he would follow his black friends to rap with them in rap battles. The movie 8 Mile shows his early childhood and his growth into a rapper, or an artist as he is now. And normally, black people have not liked this cultural appropriation. Many people still widely hate Elvis, especially in the black community, for what he took from them. Many people similarly hate Eminem, but there's a different sort of hate between Eminem and Elvis. Elvis rarely gave back to the black community. There are a few instances where he did help certain black people that he had known for a long time. When Elvis performed at the Houston Astrodome, he performed with a group of black girls that he had been playing with for some time. The Astrodome was willing to provide white artists to sing with Elvis, but Elvis instead denied them and demanded that these black girls, his black girls, would have to play with him. Eminem has given more widely back to the community as a whole. Eminem funds multiple organizations in Detroit that help at-risk children. He gives back to the communities similar to which he was raised in, and he plans to help black people as much as he humanly can. These two artists are widely hated by the black community, but at different levels. Elvis is more despised for what he took from the black community. Eminem is more despised for what he was able to use the black community for. Elvis covered many black songs in his early days, and his producer pushed him to take more of that black sound. His producer has been quoted with saying that if he could find a white man that could sing like a black, then he would have immense wealth. And months after saying this, he found Elvis Presley and signed him to a record deal. Elvis Presley was immensely popular and helped to found the genre of rock and roll. Elvis Presley used his white face to help sell more records, to help further the genre of rock and roll. Benny Goodman used his white face to sell more records to further the growth of jazz music for a white audience. Eminem used his white face to sell more rap records and to bring rap into a more culturally diverse genre. all of these artists helped to introduce this black music to a white audience. And all of these artists put a white face on that music for their own monetary gain. All of these artists culturally appropriated the ideals and the goals of the blacks to create their own music.